Hello and welcome back to Catch and Cook, California. I'm Kevin. This is video number 15 in my series, An Introduction to Freediving and Spearfishing California. Today I'm headed out on the Mendocino coast with Frankie from North Coast Living. Frankie does a tremendous amount of fishing and foraging on the North Coast. You can see on his YouTube channel, but he's never been spearfishing. So today I'm going to take him out for his very first dive. Let's go. Socks underneath. And that way it's going to keep water from going in there. Get all the sand off your feet. Now gloves are a different story. Some gloves are made to go underneath your suit. Others have Velcro like this. They'll go outside of your suit. Again, that provides a double layer there. And that's going to keep water from going in, which will keep your hands warmer. So this particular day on the North Coast was pretty typical. Nice and foggy above, a little bit murky down below, but we still had about 12 feet of visibility, so we were totally stoked. And as we swam out, we could see, pretty decent definition from the surface, diving down. This is very typical of the reef down here now, these sea urchin barrens. They're great if you like sea urchins, not so great for the abalone population, not so great for the seaweed. But as we dropped down, we saw a ton of perch, and so right off the bat I figured today's going to be a good day to get Frankie on some of his first fish with a spear. So when I'm guiding freedive spearfishing, I really like to start folks out with perch and with some of the nearshore rockfish. They tend to be a little bit more approachable. So I was already feeling very positive. So after encountering a few of these perch, I dropped down again on the reef and tried to settle in a spot where I wasn't going to get poked by purple sea urchin, and I looked up to see this beautiful black rockfish cruise by. This one looks pretty big in the footage, but he's not really that large. That being said, big enough that if Frankie was to swim over right now, I would definitely put him on it, and hopefully he could get a shot on that as one of his first fish with a pole spear. But yeah, you can see all kinds of perch in here. There's some juvenile rockfish in the foreground. It looks like there's a lot of fish here, and for folks who didn't grow up diving, this may seem like a lot of fish. But just keep in mind, if you did grow up diving these areas, there's usually 10 times this amount of fish when there's actually kelp forest that's there and anchored on the reef rather than a sea urchin barren. That being said, there's still a lot of fish, so I still feel comfortable and I still feel like it is sustainable to continue to hunt up here. So here I am showing how to clear your mask. This is something you're going to want to learn. Every diver has to do this on every dive. You'll get a little bit of water that kind of seeps in, and so you just kind of push your hand on the top of your mask and blow out your nose, and then that's going to clear all the water that might be seeping into your mask. Then you just lay on the surface, get very comfortable, you equalize your ears, take your deep breath, pull your snorkel out, and as I always say, clear your ears every foot all the way down to the bottom. In this particular case, all the way down is only about 6 feet. This is a California red abalone. You can see it's got beautiful sea lettuce growing on the back of its shell. I'm really not seeing nearly as many abalone now as I was when I was a kid because the sea urchin ate off their main food source. But we're still in the shallows here, and the sea urchin don't seem to be so abundant in the shallows. Here's another black rockfish just kind of cruising by. I'm just taking my time, and this is what I always recommend. Drop down to the bottom, grab the reef, and relax. So I'm going to pop this perch here. You'll notice that this was not a perfect hit. It's sort of a center of mass hit. I was aiming directly behind the gill plate, but I actually hit its center of mass. It's not an ideal shot with a spear gun, but with a 3-prong, it really doesn't do a whole lot of damage to the meat. So that's actually one of the reasons 3-prongs are so commonly used, is because they don't actually damage the meat much. So the way I heard this story was that 3-prongs were originally invented in Hawaii and probably broader Polynesia by folks who used 3 pieces of bicycle spoke, and they would sharpen them, tie them to the end of a stick, and use those to get fish. And those 3 prongs put a very small hole in the fish, and therefore you can take that fish to the market and sell it. Now keep in mind, you cannot sell your catch here in California. I don't care how mesmerized you are about how many sea urchins are down there or all the perch or anything like that. You cannot catch those and go sell them. If you have a commercial fishing license, you can sell finfish, but you cannot sell sea urchin. You have to have a sea urchin license, and those sea urchin licenses are darn near impossible to get. I mean, somebody actually has to retire or die before you can get one. So please don't see all the abundance here and be like, wow, I'm going to go out and grab that stuff and sell it. That is totally illegal, and if you do that, 1, you're going to face serious fines, and 2, if I find out about it, I will never dive with you again. The way we keep this sustainable is we use these resources respectfully, and we only take what we need to provide for ourselves, our family, and our friends. So this is Frankie making his first dive, and I'm going to use Frankie as an example here of new divers because he does a lot of the things that I see all new divers do when they come out on their first guided spearfishing outings with me, and they're the same things that I did, but they're things that I want to help you address so that you can improve your diving. I'm going to slow down this clip again. This is Frankie, the same clip we just saw. So what I'm showing you here is Frankie is starting to dive down, but you can see he's diving at an angle. He hasn't bent at the waist so that he's not fully vertical, dropping straight down to the bottom. It means he's had to kick about 3 times longer than he needed to. But his ascent back to the surface here, he is vertical, and it takes him almost no time at all. So in this duck dive, I've actually informed Frankie, hey, if you bend at the waist so that you're totally vertical, lift your feet up in the air and then swim straight down, you're going to hit the bottom way easier. And once you get down there, just stay at the bottom, grab the reef, and wait for the fish. So he's much more vertical this time. As he drops down, he's grabbing the reef and he's waiting for the fish. And almost immediately, the fish start opening up, getting comfortable to him, and coming right to him. So right here he loads up and he's about to get his shot, but notice he actually leaves the reef and starts to pursue the fish, and the fish just stays just beyond his reach, probably because he's moving towards the fish. If he had waited, that fish probably would have come to him. Again, these are little things that the more you do this, the more comfortable you get on the bottom and the more your undersea hunting game will improve. You see, when I breathe up and get ready for my descent, I take my snorkel out of my mouth. When I come back to the surface, my snorkel is out of my mouth, so I can immediately take my head out of the water and start breathing. If I leave my snorkel in, then when I come out of the water, I have to clear that water out of my snorkel before I can get my first breath. And as a result, what happens is it takes that much more energy before I get that breath, and that can be the difference between passing out or getting new oxygen in. So I really recommend taking your snorkel out. Alright, I'm going to pause this clip right here. Do you see that string of bubbles? That string of bubbles is coming out of Frankie's snorkel right now because it's in his mouth. So this is the other reason that I recommend taking your snorkel out of your mouth. Because those bubbles actually make noise and they will scare fish. You'll notice this. I did this for years before my brother finally read about it in Hawaii Skin Diver magazine, came back and said, Kevin, we got to try this. And sure enough, you take that snorkel out of your mouth, less bubbles come out of your snorkel, and the fish will not get scared nearly as easily. And as soon as I turned my back and stopped filming Frankie, this happened.
Yeah! Dude, it doesn't matter, that's awesome! Yes! First fish with a spear!
Yeah, heel taco.
That's awesome, man! No skunk.
And as stoked as I was in this moment, and as much as I don't want to ruin this moment, I gotta bring your attention to one more thing. Another thing we all do. So I'm gonna pause the screen again right here. This is your mask on your head. We all do this from time to time, but I'm telling you right now, if you gotta take your mask off your face, bring it down onto your neck. If you put it on your forehead and you get hit by a wave, you will lose your mask and it will ruin your day. And again, I'm not trying to say, hey, look at this, look at what Frankie's doing wrong. I'm just saying, hey, look at what Frankie's doing, because this is exactly what all of us do when we first start out. It's what I did, it's what my friends did, my family did, and if you've never heard anybody say this before, chances are you still do it even though you've been spearfishing for 2, 3, 4, 5 years. That's why I'm bringing these points up, because when I heard about it and I tried it, it totally improved my spearfishing game, so I'm hoping that by bringing it up, it'll help yours too. So here I am just trying to get a little footage of this kelp greenling, and I'm doing exactly what I don't recommend, which is follow the fish around. Every time I stop, he stops, gets curious, and comes back around. Then I start going forward, and then he gets scared and starts getting away from me. With a spear gun, this would be no problem at all, but with a pole spear, it would be a difficult shot, and this is one more reason I recommend you start with a pole spear. It forces you to slow down and learn to hunt better. So here's Frankie again on the bottom. This time, he's loaded up, and then he gets his shot. This time, no dice, but that's okay. It was real close. So this is another tip. These are my legs up here. I'm just kind of filming. What I like to see people do is try to flatten your body out like this so you're parallel with the surface. You'll notice that my fins are barely moving at all, or not even moving at all. I'm laying flat. I've got my face in the water. I'm breathing through my snorkel. And this is the best posture to totally relax. This is how you're going to catch your breath. In contrast, people will actually try to sort of stand up in the water, and they're kicking uncontrollably the whole time. They've got their head out of the water trying to have a conversation. Your heart rate will go through the roof if you're doing that. But if you lay flat like this, you can really catch your breath. And I promise you, even though it takes more time, you will be able to stay down way longer the more time you spend on the surface relaxing. So here's a perch in the foreground. In the background here, we've got a black and yellow rockfish. And I see this guy, and you can see I'm not chasing him. I'm just watching him. So what I'm doing here is exactly what I would be doing if I was hunting this fish. Notice that I'm backing away from him, not just swimming directly up. I back away, pretend like I'm not interested, and swim to the surface. This way I can call Frankie over, and he can get a shot. But I didn't swim directly up because my fins can actually kick the fish or get near the fish and spook the fish. So instead I back away, then I ascend from the bottom, and that way the fish thinks I'm not even interested. So here I'm marking the spot, pointing out where it is. Frankie has swam over to me, but now Frankie needs to spend some time on the surface because that swim just accelerated his heart rate. So now he's laying flat, doing exactly what he needs to do, breathing up, taking his time. When he's ready, he'll pre-equalize, take a deep breath, and start diving down, clearing his ears all the way, and get a shot. Now he missed this, but check it out. He slows his heart rate again, reloads, gets a second shot. And even though it wasn't a hit, that's 2 shots on one breath, which is pretty impressive. Of course, he's here like, I can't believe I got 2 shots and didn't get it. Still, I was impressed. 2 shots, I was like, man, this is good. You're getting really comfortable, and that's what it's about. It's about getting comfortable under the water. So we found the black and yellow again, and Frankie breathed up again, this time taking even more time, calmly descending, and then lining up. He's not chasing the fish. He's just getting in line. He gets his shot, and he gets the black and yellow. I was seriously so stoked right here.
Yeah! Woo! Awesome, man! Nice!
Honestly, at this point, when I'm guiding, or in this case just taking a friend out, and I see them get their first fish, I get almost as excited as if it was my first fish. So here I am just dropping down and grabbing a couple of purple urchins. This I'm doing kind of casually, and I don't usually do it this way. I'll usually go through and crack a few of them, make sure that they're good, they're full of uni. This time I just grabbed it as sort of an afterthought on the way in. But you'll see how that plays out here in a minute. So yeah, a couple purple urchin, a nice little striped perch, and then Frankie's striped perch in black and yellow. And here's Katie, Frankie's woman, got a fire going, got it all ready to go to warm us up. And so we just turned right back around, got changed, started filleting some fish. And some of my videos, I really put a lot of time and energy into the cooking portion, make sure it's very gourmet and all that. In this particular case, I was doing archaeology up on the North Coast, and I was hiking at least 8 miles a day, every single day, getting up at 5 in the morning. And so this was an after work dive, and I was already, I'll be honest, pretty tired. So this is a matter of, hey, let's go. I want to teach you how to spearfish, and then we'll come back in. We'll cook something really, really simple, because I still got to go back to my camp and take a shower, go to sleep, and go back to work. so the cooking is going to be rather simple this time. I opened up both of these sea urchins, and like I said, I should have spent some time cracking them open because both of these were empty, which is pretty typical if you don't really spend any time opening them up to make sure you're on a good, productive rock. I'll show you all about how to get good, productive urchins in the video I filmed the day after this. They were loaded with uni, and I made some delicious gourmet sea urchin recipes. So like I said, very simple. We just cooked them in oil, little salt and pepper, dash of soy sauce, and some green onion.
So, this is real outdoor catching and cooking. When it gets dark and you're still cooking. Door fire. Thank you so much, Katie.
Of course, my pleasure.
Frankie and Katie have a channel up here on the Mendocino coast called North Coast Living. They do all kinds of fishing and foraging and all kinds of outdoor adventures. And we're gonna eat, and they're gonna tell you a little bit about their channel. So, let's get into this. Got some perch and some black and yellow.
It looks delicious.
It's good.
Where's good? Really good.
The simple things in life.
Right.
You were right about putting the green onion on there. So we were coming out of the water, and I was like, I don't know, Frankie, it's gonna get dark. Maybe we should film the cooking tomorrow. When we look up and Katie's got a fire going, we're like, oh no, it's happening right now.
Yeah.
I met these guys a year ago at the Fisherman's Life Street Fair. I was doing like a panel thing where they were doing like Q&A with the local YouTubers. And the question that Frankie had was, when are you gonna come up and do a collab with me? And so I'm like, I don't know, soon I guess. And then there's a raffle, and he won the free guided foraging trip with me. And he's like, oh, that's me. And I'm like, no way. He's like, no, for real, this is my number. So, yeah, we ended up having this, and we also did, Katie and I went out and we did mushroom identification out in the woods out here. And so this is our second outing together.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was fun.
It's been super fun. Every single interaction I've had with this guy's always been positive. I've always learned so much from him, his channel. I followed him a long time before I even met him at the Fisherman's Life Street Fair, and it was crazy, and everybody was there. Everybody I followed.
It's a
all
good
in one
gathering.
place. Yeah, it was great. Yeah, so like Kevin said, we have a channel called North Coast Living. We do a lot of foraging, a lot of mushroom hunting, a lot of fishing mainly, and we just love where we live, and we feel like we should share it with the world. A couple of times I've thought about moving away, and I just can't bring myself to it. I figure people come here to vacation. Doesn't get much better than that.
I agree, man. This is beautiful up here. Yeah, you think it's unique that I'm an archaeologist? This dude is a train conductor.
I am a train conductor at the Fort Bragg Skunk Train. It's one of the best jobs I've ever had.
It's pretty awesome, man.
Yeah, I like doing it. It's fun. I like interacting with people, so if you guys come and ride the train, make sure to say hi.
Frankie's also doing website design, so he's helping me with a new website because the old one that I tried to do was garbage. So he's helping me with a real website, so it'll be easier for you folks to come out and register and come on guided forays and freedive-spearfishing.
100%.
It's awesome, man. I really appreciate you.
No worries, man. Anytime. Any way I can make your life just that much easier. So you'll be out there more often.
Good guy. Till next time, keep the old ways alive.